Howdy folks, Brian Cusco here at Triple B. We got a good one for you this week. Mr. Frank Colacicco is going to be giving a talk on geckos. He was at the Gecko Symposium that Mr. Nathan Hall put on before the last Tinley show, and he's doing it again actually this next coming October, right before the Tinley show on Friday. Again, there's a link down in the description for all that stuff. There's also a link down in the description for Frank's channel where he goes out herping around the world. The man has been herping around the world for geckos, and he's got lots of good slides, lots of good pictures of all the different environments you can see these geckos in. This is another great one, guys. You're gonna have to stick around, watch the whole thing, and I think you will definitely appreciate it. You're watching Triple B TV.
Thank you for coming out. This is amazing. I'm humbled by being here. And first off, we'll run this in a minute. I just wanted to talk to you guys and just kind of get a feel for where we're at. The gecko hobby, I feel like, it's in kind of a weird state right now. It's like the age of information, the whole Facebook, social media thing with all the information that's bouncing around is, a lot of it's good, some of it's not, and I think this is a perfect place where we can all get on the same page about things and just kind of connect, man, because I've done talks in Germany, I've done talks in the USA, and this is by far the most impressive turnout, there's some serious gecko people in here tonight, like the founders. I've never met Tim, but he's one of them. Tremper, Nathan Hall, Joe Hupp. I'm forgetting everybody, but there's some serious people in here tonight. So I'm totally humbled to be here. And let me pull my notes out real quick so I don't forget what I want to talk about, because I flew out last night from LA. I haven't slept it's been a minute since I slept. I've been drinking, so I don't need to drink anymore. So tonight I'm going to talk about traveling, the importance of traveling in terms of learning the most that you can possibly learn about the animals that you guys keep, targeting where you need to go, where you don't need to go, why you need to go there, when you should go there, how you should get there, what you should do when you get there to find the animals. So I've been traveling internationally since something like 96 or something. I took my first trip to specifically look for geckos, and it kind of changed my life. It opened up, it really opened up the world to me. It changed my whole perspective on how I keep animals, how animals can be kept, how we can learn, and also how we can become, we can help science. Most people in here are seriously more interested in geckos than scientists are interested in geckos, like straight up. I've talked to Aaron Bauer, I've talked to Russ Sadlier, I've talked to Stu Nielsen, all these gecko scientists, man. They're getting paid to do this stuff, but the people sitting at these tables are more interested in geckos than these guys are. And so that's why this is important. And that's why when Nate said, what do you want to talk about? I said, I want to talk about traveling. I want to get these guys doing what I'm doing and doing what, a lot of you guys are already doing it, but I want everybody to be out there, man. You guys are I know some of you guys are gonna spend $3,000-$4,000 tomorrow on a Leachianus or a Chihuahua. You could be buying a plane ticket to New Caledonia for that kind of money, straight up. So, and I'm not trying to take sales away from anybody. Go buy the Leachianus, but just, think about it. Because trust me, you're gonna learn a lot. If you go to New Caledonia, you're gonna learn, straight up. You will, you're gonna learn a lot. A lot more than one more Leachianus to your 15 that you already have is going to teach you. So, let me see. And before, I know a lot of you guys, and I don't know a lot of you guys. And a lot of you guys I've talked to for years, and tonight is the first night I got to meet you in person. It's been awesome. I'm super happy to meet all you guys. So, real quick, like kind of background info. I've been keeping geckos. I bred my first animals when I was 11. I'm 39, so whatever that is. I'm not doing math right now. I'm not. It's been a long time. I've kept all of them. I've bred a lot of them. I've enjoyed all of them. I've read the books. I've talked to the guys. I've learned everything I can. And you get to a point where you got to get on an airplane, man. You really do. So my first trip was probably a lot of your guys' first trip. I went to Costa Rica. And Costa Rica is a beautiful country. Costa Rica is a piss poor country to look for geckos in. There's like 4 species there, something like that. There's some cool species there. There's Lepidoblepharus, there's some Phylodactylus there, there's some Spherodactylus there. So there's not no geckos there. But compared to some of the other countries you can go to, there's almost no geckos there. But Costa Rica was a good jump off point, totally safe country. It's easy to travel around, get your feet wet, understand what it's like to be in a foreign country, and yeah, just get down to business, man. Get out in the forest, be by yourself, feel what it's like to not be on a guided tour, get out in the jungle and get dirty, flip some logs, do your thing, find some animals, and get the bug. The bug is real, man. Like I'm like addicted. I'm like a crack addict for traveling. Like I cannot go a year without going on 2 trips, like straight up. My fiance drives her crazy until I started bringing her with me, and now she's all about it. So it works out. Let's see. So I want to drive a point home real quick. I don't want anybody to take offense to this. How many people in here, with a show of hands, keep Rhacodactylus, whether it be ciliatus, whether it be auriculatus, whether it Leachianus, Bavias, Urodactyloides, anything from New Caledonia? How many people? Damn near everybody. How many people have been to New Caledonia? 2 people. How many people keep Nephris, Saltorius, Oedura? Any of that stuff, Underwoodosaurus, whatever. Almost everybody. How many people have been to Australia? Better. A lot better. But, so I think you guys see where I'm going for. Like, I mean, we could talk about, who keeps Uroplatus, who keeps Phelsuma, who's been to Madagascar. Not that many people. And we should change that. Like, straight up, we should change that. You guys should go to these places, and you guys should see these animals, and you guys should understand how they're living in the wild. And you guys should take the information that you glean from these countries and put it into your husbandry. I mean, you can learn a lot from people that are keeping animals. Like Joe Hupp's talk, like, I can't even believe that. Like, I don't even know, like, what, do you have time to, I know you have time to eat, because I've seen you eat, but other than that, do you have time to go to the bathroom? I mean, like, wow, bro. Like, you are like, that's like regimented, and that's crazy. And I mean, you can learn a lot from that. You can also learn a lot from the field. So, it depends on, and also some animals, some places, they're not safe. But I'm not trying to persuade you guys to go to Yemen. I'm not trying to persuade you to go to Syria. Like, I'm not, man. I mean, the first place that pops into my mind is New Caledonia. The place is safe. It's a French colony. You can get there. It's expensive. It's literally the price of a Chihuahua. Straight up. It's $1,200 for a plane ticket. That's not even a top-end Chihuahua. I know the Gilpins are selling some for friggin' $5,000, dude. Like, that's great. That's the whole trip. Straight up. It is. And they travel, so this ain't even for you. But, so I'm not going to ramble too long. I want to go through my slideshow. And my slideshow is just kind of some of my trips in the past 10 years and my mind state when I'm there, trying to knock down a microhabitat, seeing. So when you go somewhere, you can't just walk into a country and be like, okay, I'm going to go to Australia and I'm going to find Underwoodosaurus. So you fly to Sydney, you get out of the airport, you drive out in the field. All right, where are they at? Damn, I didn't find any. All right, I'm going to go home. It's all right, next time. No, that's not how you do it. That's not how you do it. There's microhabitats. You find the microhabitat. You find the different points where they've been found before. There's tons of research, and you get down to business. So let me start running this. This picture right here is, some of you guys probably keep Ouroboros cataphractus. This is in the habitat of them in kind of a burnt out house in South Africa. So here's an example. This is the Spitskop in Namibia. And so here we have a bunch of different microhabitats. So for somebody who's never traveled before, if I showed up to this place, what we've got. So we've got these upper echelon cliff faces. Now, some of the species I'm going to talk about, all of you might not know them, all of you may know them, I don't know, but I'm just going to run with it and see how it goes. So up here, you're going to have the genus Aphroedura, which are typically mountaintop dwelling geckos. They're going to be up here. This is the niche that they're going to fill. They're going to be living up here. You get down in these broken stones, you're going to have Pachydaculus, probably Pachydaculus bicolor, Pachydaculus punctatus, stuff like that. You get further down here in the lower reaches, you're going to have Rhoptropus, Rhoptropus bernardi, Rhoptropus cf, different undescribed species, which, by the way, is another really fun thing of traveling. And do not get this wrong. There are plenty of species that have not been described, and you don't have to be a scientist to go out and find them. I've found them. I promise. Like, you can go out, you can find them, you can get with these scientists, you can write papers, and you can be part of that. You can straight up be immortalized in herpetology, which should be everybody's goal. I mean, that's crazy. Your kids read about you basically describing a new species that will never be forgotten in the history of humanity. That's insane, and that's possible. Anyway, down here on the bottom, you've got Tenepus, the barking geckos, which are one of my favorites. And then also in the trees, you'll have stuff like Lagodactylus, you'll have chameleons, and whatever else you might find in there. So this is Pachydaculus bicolor. This is found in that same spot. This is the Spitzkop in Namibia. This is just a typical Pachydaculus. And this is one of the Rhoptropus species that you would find there. This is what I was just talking about. This is an undescribed species of Rhoptropus. It's not Bradfieldi, which lives north of there. Or I mean Bernardi, which lives north of there. It's not Bradfieldi. It's not Biporosis, so it's undescribed. And if I wanted to go full blown and, you know, call the scientists and go and get tissue and this and that and meet them and try to make it happen, we could make it happen. This is Pachydaculus punctatus. It's another small gecko living on the ground. This is Chondrodactylus angulifer namibiensis. So this is a more rare subspecies to the typical Chondrodactylus that you guys would see at certain tables and whatnot. It's a beautiful gecko. And they share the habitat with Tenepus maculatus, which are living down here in the flats. These guys are terrestrial geckos. You can see right in the background there's the Spitzkop, so this is just an extension of that habitat. So, I mean, you can go to one habitat, and literally I could spend a week there and find 15 different species of geckos. I could find rock monitors, I could find cobras and Angolan pythons. I mean, you could clean up at a spot like this. You can go and spend a week there. That's your vacation. And this is Tenepus. This is a barking gecko. This is one of the geckos that got me into geckos. And it was a book written by Hermann Seufer called Geckos. I've gotten to meet Hermann and go to his house in Germany, and that was a pleasure. But he had a book and he had pictures of these guys in there, and it literally just kind of sparked like a lifelong nut job obsession with geckos. And this is also the Spitzkop. This is Camellia De Lepus. These guys are living in the trees. They're damn near impossible to find in the day. If you look at night with a flashlight, though, it's like a little white flag just hanging out in the tree. Super easy to find. And this is Aphroedura africana. These were the ones that I was saying that live way up in the top. So this is a different habitat. This is on the coast. This is in Swakopmund, Namibia. So this is about halfway between the South African border and the Angolan border. And this is a weird habitat. It's super flat. It's freezing at night. This place is crazy cold at night. But you've got just a specific species living in this band of these big black boulders. And it's Pachydaculus mariaci. This used to be called, back in the day, for those guys that used to keep all these Pachydaculus, this was called the coastal bicolor. It's now called mariaci. And there's other species living in here as well. This is a strange Chondrodactylus. A lot of people write these off, you know, Chondrodactylus turneri, whatever, it's a $5 gecko, but there's some cool ones. I mean, look at that thing. That is a trip. That's a crazy looking gecko. And then there's Rhoptropus afer. These guys just tear around the ground. They're fun to catch because they won't hide under rocks. Like, they'll just run, and you can just run after them, and they'll just keep running, and then finally they'll tire out, and they'll just kind of be like, all right, I'm over it. Like, just catch me already. Like, I can leave me alone. So it's fun. They're fun to catch. This is Tenepus carpi. These guys are also in that habitat. It's just crazy to see an animal that's this delicate and this small living in, they call it quartz quartz plains. It's this sharp, nasty shit it's just nasty ground, and it's cold, and it's just windy, and it's ruthless. And there's just these little, just soft-bodied lizards somehow making a living out there. And it just doesn't make sense, but it totally makes sense to me to go look for them. And then a couple different pachydaktylus that live there. This is Bradfieldi, Rhoptropus. This is Pachydaktylus scherzi, which also live there. And this is a Bitis. It was Bitis caudalis. They will be doing some work on these soon, and this will not be Bitis caudalis anymore, but for the time being it is. Typically Bitis caudalis have horns. These guys don't. There's some other different scalation issues that they're running into, so we'll see what ends up happening with those. And then, for the people who, for some reason, can't get a passport or just don't want to do it, we can herp. We can herp here. Not here. It's damn cold outside, but this is like 2 hours from my house, and I can find geckos, like straight up, like endemic native geckos that are close. And you guys can get there. I mean, this is an easy trip, straight up. And I mean, I know a lot of you guys have been here. And so these are the different habitats. And down here you'd have Coleonyx, Coleonyx variegatus, and also, if you're unbelievably lucky, Coleonyx swataki. And then up here on these walls, you'll have Phylodactylus nauticolus, which is our native leaf-tailed gecko to California. And we're privileged to have those. So here's Coleonyx. You guys have all seen these cute little things. Got like little eyelashes. They're just super cute little geckos. Underrated, totally underrated. And then here's the Phylodactylus. And they generally live on stuff like this. They live in the cracks. So yeah, man, I go all the time. If I got a weekend free, if I'm in a fight with the fiance, I'm out, man. I'm looking for geckos. And then you also get to run into other cool things. You get to see rattlesnakes. And another easy trip. You don't need a passport. Puerto Rico, it's $400. It's probably even cheaper. I bet you could fly from Chicago to Puerto Rico for $350 round trip. And for those of you who keep the little geckos, Spherodactylus, this should be your spot. I mean, I can't even count. Richie, you probably know. There's, I don't know, 10 Spherodactylus there, or 8 Spherodactylus there. There's a Phylodactylus here. There's an insane amount of anoles there. There's a Puerto Rican boa constrictor. There's a super rare toad. Puerto Rico is stocked. That place is seriously fun to herp, and it's cheap. And it's easy to travel around. I mean, this, like right here, this trash pile right here, this has 2 species of Spherodactylus. So you can drive, you can get Burger King, you can go to Walmart, you can pull up right here and flip some trash, and you got Spherodactylus. So you got Roosevelti, which is one of the largest Spherodactylus. You got Nicholsy, which is one of the smallest Spherodactylus, living under the same palm trash on this beach. And after you find them, that water is 85 degrees. So then we switch. We go back over Grown Riversman, South Africa. This beach, that water's like 45 degrees. We don't go in this water. But these little geckos, this is Pachydaktylus austini. By the way, let me touch on that real quick. With the Latin, a lot of people say I, some people say E. Either one is correct. In Latin, typically I is pronounced E. So when I say Austini, Uromastyx thomasi, whatever, Uromastyx thomasi, as long as you're not absolutely butchering it and the person who's sitting next to you knows what you're talking about, you're good. So it's nothing to even argue about. And these guys are super specialized, man. They live in the coldest, nastiest beach. I don't know what they eat. They may eat sand. No, I spent a lot of time on this beach because I really like these things. They're really pretty. Obviously, you can tell. The females are big and purple. The males are small and orange, and they always look like this. And I have never seen an insect on that beach. I don't know if there's termites living in the root systems of these bushes. I don't know if there is some sort of sand flea that is invisible to human eyes or what, but I mean, they're amazing. And from what I've heard and from what I've experienced, nobody can keep these things in captivity. I've kept them for about 8 months, and they just end up, something is missing. And that's another thing that is very important about visiting and revisiting the habitat if you're not successful with something, is trying to figure out what's wrong. Because, I I mean, at the end of the day, it's like mineral can't fix all your problems. You've got to figure out what is missing. And a lot of times you can find out what is missing by visiting the habitat. This is one of those instances where myself personally, I haven't figured it out at all yet. I've failed miserably with these animals. So this is another, it seems far-flung. This place is unbelievably easy to travel in. It's a little bit expensive to get to, and this place is popping with geckos. Epic geckos. If you can go to the UAE, you could spend 3 nights there and you can murder it with geckos. And not just lame little brown tiny geckos. You'll see, real good geckos. And it's, you know, you can take pictures. It could be like a Mac background or something. So Stenodactylus arabicus, this is like a miniature web-footed gecko. These things are all over the place. If you can't find these, then you gotta go. Like seriously, like these, they're everywhere. You need to be more careful of stepping on them than you need to be doing looking for them. Like they're all over the place, literally everywhere. And they're beautiful. I mean, look at the feet. This is like a palmetto gecko. This is like a web-footed gecko, straight up. I mean, they're living, I mean, it's that whole, you know, I'm drawing a blank right now. Parallel something or other, I can't remember. And these guys, this is a salt flat gecko. These are just unbelievably specialized geckos. They only live in this really weird salt crusted, you wouldn't think they'd be there. You wouldn't think you want to walk out where they live. You'd be like, no, I'm not, that's quicksand or something. I'm not going out there. Literally, it's like quicksand. And you walk out there and these freaking weird looking alien things are out there. And then you walk on the normal sand and they're not there. I'm talking within inches. If you go into the normal sand 6 inches, they are not there. But if you're in that salty crap, there they are. And that's what they do. And then these guys, this is kind of like this is the darling of UAE. This is why everybody that goes to the UAE should hunt geckos, because these are there. These are on a few tables that I saw today. These are super popular in the pet trade. They're unbelievably cool to find in the wild. It's worth the trip. They're huge. They're visible. And it's a treat to be able to see a Atascadero, because if you guys know the genus Atascadero, they do live in dangerous places. You're not going to Iran. You're not going to Kazakhstan. You're not. I mean, you know, Western China. It's doable, but it's not the best idea, especially when you can go to the UAE and see Kaiserlingi, which is, you know, the biggest, most impressive species. And this is a baby. And then you get to see the vipers. This is Cerastes gaspareti. These guys are also looking for geckos, so they're doing the same thing you're doing, and they hide down here. And they'll have, the picture didn't work out that well, but this is actually its tail, and it's doing the whole caudal luring, where it'll sit there and it'll wiggle its tail and wait for a gecko to come and then smoke them. And then the sand boas, these are weird ones. These ones there's a few of these in captivity. There's not a lot, but they look like a halibut. They've got the eyes on the top of the head, like a flounder or something. Just really trippy looking snakes. And they're also there. And so this is actually one of my favorite places that I've ever been. This was like a last minute thing. I was going to South Africa. I had time and I was like, I wonder if I can go to Swaziland. It's actually not even called, it's not called Swaziland anymore. Does anybody know what it's called? The name got changed. No one? What is it? Eswatini, exactly. Bam, I knew it. So Swaziland, I went here specifically. Oh yeah, and so this is how quickly. I went on the internet, I said, is Swaziland safe? That's what I typed in. And basically there was no warnings and it said that I didn't need a visa. So I said, it's safe, let's do this. And it was safe, it was totally cool. It was so crazy. I mean, because when you go to South Africa it's tame for the most part. And I mean, right now there's some shit going on in South Africa that's not tame, and we all know that. But in general, South Africa is a safe, easy, tame, Western place. And you go to Swaziland and it's not. This is Africa, and it was really cool. And I was going to look for a giant Afroedura called Afroedura major, and it was hard, man. This shit is slippery. Like you got to try to get up here, because the thing about Afroedura is they're not about this stuff. They want to be up here. And so we got to get up here. So we got to all up and through here, and we got to get up here. And I actually took one of the hardest falls I've ever taken. It was pretty gnarly. But the habitat when you got to the top was just surreal. I mean, it was so weird to be up there. And on the way up in a little guest, I don't even know if it was a guest hut, I don't know what it was a hut. There was Homophilus wahlbergi, which I think a lot of you, or not a lot, but some of you guys definitely have kept or do keep. And that was, it was a neat animal. There was Pachydaktylus vansoni, which is another neat one. There was Lygodactylus nigropunctatus. There was basking tree frogs, which goes along with Grayson's talk. Animals that normally wouldn't bask do bask. And I don't know if this dude was soaking up UVB or heat or what he was doing, but I got sunburnt like I'm not even gonna say it, but man, I was so sunburnt that day, and he's not even tripping, he's right there. And then, so this was the Afroidura. And yeah, it's an ugly brown gecko, but I mean, this is literally what, this gets me so pumped, reliving these moments. Like, I mean, this was so cool to find this animal. Because if you go on Google, this is another thing that I like to do, man. I'll find a gecko that I'm interested in, and I'll go on Google, and there will be no pictures of it. Literally no pictures. And I'm like, I'm gonna take a picture of that gecko. Like, that's the goal now. I need to take a picture of that gecko because there is no pictures. Afroidura major, now there's pictures. So this was Trinidad and Tobago. This is another good one. The Caribbean is a very, very easy place to travel, especially if you guys are coming from the East Coast. I know some of you guys came from the East Coast. You guys can get down to these islands for cheap and quick. It's hard for me to get from California over here, but I wanted to find some of these gonatodes, which is like a dwarf day gecko that lives in some of these islands. This island has some of the nicest ones, so I said I'm gonna do it. And some of the best places to look for reptiles are like ruins of old houses. I mean, it just works out. And this place was crawling with Gonatodes vittatus. They were everywhere. Like every single one of these things had one underneath it. And my dumbass didn't take a picture of a male. So here's a female. And the males are super pretty. I'm like, wow, dude, I was going through my pictures and I just, what? But I mean, check this out. Here's the thing. Has anybody ever seen a Cecilia that looks like that in captivity? They don't. I'll show you one in captivity. So I have never. I've seen them look close to this, but this yellow, it's unbelievable. And this is the kind of stuff that I want to see. I want to see this more than I want to go into my garage or my gecko room and see one in a cage that looks like that. This is still a beautiful gecko, but that is unbelievable. And to know that you can go and find them, and this is the microhabitat. Like I said, you need to focus. You've got to nail down the microhabitat, because if you just go into the deep jungle and you're running around looking for these things, you're not going to find them. You've got to nail down these buttresses. It's best with two people because these things are on it. They're not playing around. So they see you and they go around the other side. So if you have someone over here and someone right here, they can go this way. And dude right here can come around, and then you can spot them and try to figure them out. But beautiful geckos. And a lot of times the geckos you're going to see in the wild, it's unfortunately true. They're going to blow away the stuff that you see in captivity. I mean, it's the varied diet. It's the nutrients that they're getting in from these insects, whatever they're eating. It's the natural sunlight. It's just nature. These animals are unbelievable to see in the wild. So this is a female. This is an ocellatus. This is on Tobago. And they're cool. I like the Ceciliae better, but ocellatus was another one of the targets, so we got them. And humoralis, same thing, just a beautiful gecko. They're also in that same situation in the deeper, they're more in the shade, but neat animals. Spherodactylus moli, these were hard to find. Spherodactylus usually aren't that hard to find. I worked way too hard to find this little white gecko. And the ever-present Thecodactylus rapicoda, which have seemingly disappeared in captivity. Is anyone keeping these still? Yeah, they did. They used to come in a lot from Suriname. I don't know what's going on. Okay, so now we will go to Oman. I need to start hurrying probably. You guys are probably sick and tired of sitting in these chairs. So this is a typical wadi. This is dry riverbed. Geckos up here, geckos down here, geckos all over. This is a typical campsite. We found an island that had never been herpetologically explored. We scoured everything. We talked to scientists. Nobody had ever gone to this island to look for geckos. The island is called Al Halaniyat, and it is between Salalah, which is in the south of Oman, the border of Yemen and Socotra Island. It's a small island. We found a Bangladeshi guy that had a boat that would take us out there. It took us 4 days to find this guy. He finally took us out there, and this was our camp. This is a different habitat. This is the habitat for a couple of different Stenodactylus. You've got the big sand dunes, and this just, I mean, to me, this screams Stenodactylus doriae, Stenodactylus lepticausembatus. Trachydactylus are living on the rock outcrops that you'll find in that sand. This is another rare one. This was Bonopus. It's been recently changed to Trachydactylus. This is another one, Trachydactylus spatulurus. Here's another cool thing that you can do when you travel. This gecko was, until last year, considered the rarest gecko in Arabia. There had been 4 of them found in over 100 years. There had been over 25 herpetological expeditions. There had been 4. We found the microhabitat. We found 20 in 30 minutes. And so I contacted the leading scientist of Arabia, Salvador Carranza, and I said, yo, what is this about? And he said, nah, you're mistaken. You're finding Hajarensis. I sent him the picture. I said, Spatulurus. And he said, write an article immediately. I will send a cover letter to wherever you want it published. This has to be published right now. And so that's a big deal. I mean, that's really cool. That's really cool to be able to do that. And so we wrote it up. It's in herpetological notes. And now they're not the rarest gecko in Arabia anymore. And then you got these big guys, Teodactylus, Dopharensis. This is similar to the ones that we see, just, you know, the ones that come in. This is a different species. These are big. These are beautiful. They're all over the place. And then everybody's favorite, Uromastyx. This is part of the fun of traveling. You know, you go look for geckos, but you get to see really neat things on the side. Stenodactylus lepticausembatus. These are little bulldogs. Big old heads on these things. They are all over the place. This is another one. This is a Hemidactylus alcayumi. I know Troy's liking this. Hemidactylus lemurrinus. This is another interesting gecko. These guys live on cliff faces that don't have a ground. So there's cliff and then there's ocean. So it is a interesting situation to try to catch these things. I've gotten wet, straight up gotten wet with these. Here's a lot of people's favorites. This is Pristurus carteri. If you ever go to Oman, actually, if you love Pristurus carteri, don't go to Oman, because after you go, you won't like them anymore, because they're literally everywhere. They're like flies. I swear to God, they are. I mean, where I live, they're like Scalopris. They're everywhere, and you're like, God damn it, another carteri. But they're beautiful geckos. Good little habitat. This is more Doriae. This is also Scincus mitranus, Varanus griseus. Here's another one of the Pseudoceramidactylus cobarensis. These are those salt flat, weird looking things. This is Doriae. These guys are those sand dwellers. This is a newer species. This is similar to Stenodactylus arabicus. This is Stenodactylus sharkiensis. These guys are found in the dunes. This is Naja arabicus. We found this guy supposedly trying to kill an Omani. I don't think he was. He was actually just coiled over by a tree, and this Omani guy was literally flipping out, saying that the snake is killing me, oh my God. So we went over and we're like, dude, get out of here with that. And there he was. This is one that we're working on. This is part of that, rewind back to that island that I was just talking about. When we went there, this popped up, which was super weird because there's a Tropiocolodes that's from Yemen, which is Tropiocolodes cortechi. It looks nothing like this. This animal showed up on this island. So this will probably be a new species. We're waiting on DNA stuff. The one thing about not being a scientist is I can't just be like, oh yeah, I got tissue samples, here they are, and give them to people because I can't take the animals. So I have to contact the scientists, I have to tell them where the animals are, or I have to meet them there, show them the animals, then they can get the tissue, and then things can start rolling. So we've got a Russian scientist and a Spanish scientist working on these, so hopefully these will end up being something new. And this is one that that scientist actually just discovered that we had found and told him about, and this is Confucius, and they're beautiful. They're super small, but they're really neat. And this is another one from closer to that island. So you end up, you become scientific when you travel a lot. You just start seeing the divergence and how things evolve and where things change and borders and boundaries and why boundaries are here and why this mountain range is a boundary but why this one isn't. And especially like if you're in Africa, and also Australia, like Justin was saying, these are some of the oldest continents. Australia and Africa are two of the oldest continents there are. So you get crazy amounts of speciation. You can have a rock pile that's 5 kilometers from another rock pile, but these rock piles have been apart for millions of years to the point where these geckos that were once species have now speciated, even though they're super close together, but they live on rocks and they're not going to cross that flat ground. With these Tropiocalotes, they live in rocks. There's no way these animals are going to be able to get across a sand dune, even 1 kilometer. It's not going to happen. So they begin to speciate, and you can see it here. If you look at this one, compared to that one, compared to that one, these are all within 40 kilometers. This is Al Ain in Oman. It's funny because it looks like it's like from the 1700s. This is like from the 1980s. They just build their stuff and then say, it's broken, let's move somewhere else. But you get Prosterus up there, Celerinus, this is a nice one. Galligari, this is another nice one. Osacus montanus, these are interesting little guys. Leaf toes, just another, it's just crazy because you can go to one habitat and it's not like here where I go down to the desert and I find Coleonyx. These habitats in Oman, you go to them and there's 7 or 8 species of geckos within the size of this stage. Like literally, you can sit there all day and find geckos, all day long. These bad boys, they're there. And these are big. These are impressive animals. These are really big and they're really nice and they're common. They're right there. They're waiting for you. They're $1,200 away, literally. They're a plane ticket and a car rental away and they're sitting right there in a safe canyon. No one's gonna do anything to you. There's no ISIS there, there's no bombs, there's no lions. Africa has lions. I've had problems with lions in Africa. Oman doesn't. This is Belize. This is one of my first trips, so the pictures were such garbage that I just didn't even make them big. I went here specifically to find this gecko. This is Aristelager georgiensis. I found them in these trees, and during that I found Drymarchon, which you guys, probably some of you keep. This is the black-tailed crebo. It's a Gulf Coast toad. This is Spherodactylus glaucus. This is Anolis, who knows this? And this is a milk snake. Canonday, Ecuador, jungle time. Like I just said, jungles aren't the best for geckos. They're not, but they're super fun to hurt because you find a lot of other stuff. But you do find the geckos, and if you're a gecko person and you go to Ecuador, you better find them. So this is Lepidoblepharus butchwaldi. These things are tiny, 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 but they're beautiful and they're worth finding. And then this is Lepidoblepharus grandis, and these are actually bigger. These are probably almost 4 inches. I mean, these are really, I was surprised. The weird thing about Lepidoblepharus is these things live almost in the water. They're in the creeks, and it just tripped me out finding these things because I'm used to geckos. They may be near creeks, but they're on the rocks, and these things are in the wet leaves, sliming around through all this crap, and it was a trip finding these. But yeah, I mean, the scalation is it's like a mosaic. It's pretty sick. That's this right here is an accident. This is what happens when you don't have silica in your camera bag and your lens fogs up and you get lucky. And the tree boas, we found the tree boas, Corallus bloombergi. This guy bit the shit out of me, but we got a good shot. And we found the anole. If you go to Ecuador and you don't find this, you might as well not have gone. These guys were thought to be extinct. They were found something like, I think 10 years ago, something like that. Anolis proboscis. Beautiful, weird, surreal experience to find these things. Basilicus galeridus. This is, a lot of people have been after these for a while. Literally within seconds of this picture, this dude went way up the tree, and so that was the shot. Analioides, alto tombo. These guys are really difficult to find. They live deep in the jungle, and you really got to be quiet and you got to be stealthy to find these guys. Bothriechus sledgeli, the famous eyelash viper. And this is Paarl, South Africa. This is near Cape Town. I was just getting ready to climb up into this cliff to look for one of my favorite geckos. And there I am. This is about 15 feet off the ground. This is back to microhabitat. If I'm walking around in the grassland flipping rocks, I'm not going to find what I'm looking for. You study the animal, you study where they're found, you pinpoint it. Google Earth is an amazing tool. I found this spot on Google Earth. I said, that looks good. There's parking. That looks walkable. Let's do it. We did it. We climbed up the side of the rock and we found them. And they're big and they're beautiful. Mount Robinson, another nasty one. Super steep, super nasty, but Afrogecko porphyreus were up there. We wanted to find them. So we literally had to park. There was something over here. We had to get all the way out to these rocks, but we did find them. They're nowhere near as cool as the last ones, but that's a rare gecko for the gecko files. Swartberg Mountains, really cool place. You get Hogia huety. This is an obscure, tiny little gecko. You get Pachydatylus geicha. You get Pachydatylus cladoderma. You get maculatus. And then you get Rami gecko, Swartbergensis, which is an incredible gecko. One of my favorites. Jonathan, have you looked for these? Did you find them? Go again. Chondrodactylus angulifer, super common gecko. This is another one that's almost like Pristurus carteri in Oman. If you drive down the road, you're going to find a lot of these. Okay, so this is Namaqua land. Pachydatylus weberi, Ouroboros cataphractus. These are always a fan favorite. These are the little guys that curl up. This is also the habitat for Rhoptropella or Phelsuma. I'm drawing a blank. Oscillata. Pachydatylus goody. Actually, this is A. torquatus now. This is another thing that scientists do. I think I was talking to you about it, Jonathan, is why they did this. I mean, I'm not going to argue with it because I'm not a scientist and DNA says it all, but body structure is similar. But so Pachydatylus A. torquatus is a gecko that looks similar to this, but it's pretty much entirely white or gray. These geckos are found in a fairly different habitat and are totally, banded like this. And for a while they were two separate species, and now they're not. So now they're just Pachydatylus A. torquatus. This is Damaraland, Namibia. Pretty beautiful plateaus. It's Pachydatylus parascutatus, which is found there. This is on the Skeleton Coast, and so this picture right here is cool because, no joke, my tent, I was sleeping like this, and when I woke up, there was 4 giraffes, like literally just being like, what is this? Like there's a green, like what is this? And there's one here, there's one here, there's one there, there's one there. And in this shrubbery, I got up, I went out to relieve myself. These dudes ran, and I found Lygodactylus lawrencei living in these trees. We found Pachydatylus CF parascutatus. They've been saying microscutatus, blah, blah. We'll see what this ends up being. It's not scutatus. It's not parascutatus. It's too far south for parascutatus. This is Ugob. This is one of the most terrifying moments of my life was spent here. So we were camping over here, and we were hunting geckos over here. And this is elephants come through there at night. And so we had gone over here and we're finding geckos and we're flashlights and yada, yada, yada. And then the elephants come through. And then a lion came over here and he was roaring. And we had to come across here, but the elephants were here. And it was all bad. Like it was super sketchy. It was really sketchy. I mean, we made it, obviously. And the elephants, it was just crazy. I mean, walking around elephants is insanely scary at night. They're huge, and these Namibian elephants, they killed German tourists like 4 or 5 years ago. They're no joke. And but it was like, yo, you walk across here to get away from the elephants, or you see what Mr. Lion's gonna do. So we had 2 choices. Arab Namibia, you've got Pachydatylus mclaughlini, you've got Pachydatylus griffini, and you've got Pachydatylus monachei, literally living almost all of them right here. And we're coming to the end. Bring friends with you. Just be dope. Be that guy that is just down for whatever. When you go herping and you go far and you bring somebody with you, you guys are going to form bonds that you didn't know were possible. And don't be the guy that's so serious and so just like reptile that it ends up ruining the trip. You know, go fishing, mess around, bring your fiance, take funny pictures, just do fun stuff, man. Go eat, experience the culture, talk to the people. Don't sit scared in your car. You're not going to experience anything like that. And yeah, do fun stuff, man. So what do you guys think? You guys have any questions? Because that is the last slide.
That was a good one. Frank and I actually talked recently about going out and doing some herping together, doing a little collab, which I would think would be fantastic. One of my favorite points that he brought up was how much some of these higher end animals cost and how they can be enough for a plane ticket for you to go check out some of these animals in the wild. If you haven't gotten a chance to go out and herp for some of these animals that we keep in captivity in the wild, I would highly recommend it. This experience is just, it's invaluable. It's the value that you'll get out of a trip like that is just, you can't compare it to how much money it costs. It's more valuable. The amount of money you will spend to get to go to these places and check out some of these animals is just, it's priceless. It's priceless. And it's a great point. Just a really good point I thought you brought up. Also remember, don't forget to go down the description for links to the next Gecko Symposium that's being put on. There were lots of other great talkers who talked at the talk. And if you want to see them in person, well, you just got to show up to one of the shows and check out the symposium. Again, the link down in the description for Frank's channel. Next week, we're going to be sitting down with Clint Laidlaw. And until then, you've been watching Triple B TV. Y'all take care. Hi, the bee bob, the bee bob, bee babo, bada bada bee bob, bada baba, bada bee bob, bee babo. Coming at you live and direct, coming at you from some other planet, coming at you with your mom. Your mom likes it.